self-doubt. So that was really big. Like, self-doubt was a big thing for me in my depression because I didn't feel like I was worth anything. Mm-hmm. So then, I started like not sleeping. There were nights where I would not be able to get to sleep till 4:00 in the morning.
Right, that's definitely
because I'm just up, and then I get to school the next morning, and my eyes are just bloodshot red, and I still can't sleep. So I dealt with insomnia. There were days or weekends or times that I slept like the entire day. Like I would sleep I would stay in the bed more than 24 hours at a time. So I just knew that it was something that just was not right. And I didn't know where to go from there. I was like, well, I'm not really suicidal, so I don't feel the need to call a suicide hotline or anything like that. Like, I was like, I didn't want to go that far. There were times where, I thought about it, but I was like, you know what? I kind of got a little, what's the word? I was like, you know what? I'm too good to kill myself. I ain't doing it.
I'm a little cocky.
I'm a little cocky in my depression. I was like, no, I am not going out like that. I ain't killing myself.
Oh, that's like the punk way out.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel like, or I believe that. Like, that's a coward's way out.
Right.
I feel like we all have demons, and it takes a mature person to realize that you can deal with these demons.
Right.
And especially if you have a spiritual or a spiritual background, you know that you can conquer.
You have to come to that that consciousness. You have to wake up from whatever it is that you are fighting. The depression, you have to wake up from that depression and say, hey, I can get through this. Right. But I feel like even in some states that some people are so deep in depression that they need, it takes more than just them waking up. It takes them talking to someone. Yeah. And I feel like in the African American community, black community, that we don't feel comfortable talking to people about things that are going on within us.
But why is it such a stigma? And why is it such a stigma?
But my opinion on that, and this is no fact, I just think that it's something that we're embarrassed about it. If it's something negative about ourselves, we don't want to share it. And if we continue to hide it and continue to cover it up and nobody ever knows about it, then we're good. As long as we can say we're good and just keep on going.
That's my motto. I'm good.
But at the end of the day, you're really not good. And you just keep going on and on and on and covering it up until you explode. And it's a mess at that point.
Then
you end up in a
shopping mall.
No, I wasn't going to say shopping mall. I was going to say you're going to end up on somebody's floor in a hospital like that, the psych ward, because you exploded. If you would have sought help in the beginning, you could have avoided all of that.
Yeah, true. I got to the point where I started hallucinating.
Jesus Christ.
It got pretty bad. And that's one of the moments where I realized, like, dude, you really need some help. You really need, because I was going through just so many things that I did not want to talk to people about. I did not want to let anybody know that, hey, I'm dealing with this depression. I feel worthless. I feel down. I feel negative. It was not a good feeling. And, I was sitting in my apartment and it was like something was coming after me. And so I was like, somebody is coming after me. Somebody is like tapping my phone. Somebody is wanting to...
Bruh, you might have schizophrenia. Why are you looking at me like that?
You know what?
Not that. I'm not making fun of the sickness. Let's make that clear.
I know.
I'm not making fun of that at all because that's very serious.
I know sometimes I feel a little schizo.
And I know people that deal with it, but that's deep.
Yeah.
When you start thinking people are like... When you start thinking people are following you and tapping your phone and you might think somebody's under your house, that's some serious ish.
Yeah, it is. It's serious. And that's why
That's why
this is something serious that we need to talk about.
Right. And that's where I was going with that. It's like, this is something that we need to talk about, because you never know that you sharing your story might help somebody else, or even me sharing my story, because I think I've dealt with depression in past years. Like, I was seriously depressed. Like, did not want to get out of bed, didn't want to leave the house, the entire thing. But I never talked to anybody about it. But I ended up finally.
I didn't want nobody to see my car at a therapist's office. I was like, nope. Nope, ain't nobody gonna be like, oh, I saw you over there at Dr. Child's office. Are you crazy?
But I think at a certain point, I just woke up and said, hey, you know what? You need to go talk to somebody. Not somebody in your family, or not somebody that I know. I just want to talk to somebody that's outside of my circle of people that don't have no connection to me at all.
And that's a good thing as well. I'm glad you brought that up, because, you know, growing up, when I saw people deal with things, and I'm using air quotes, deal with things mentally, the first person they go to is their pastor.
And I mean, I guess they feel comfortable talking to them, but I don't feel like your pastor is your therapist.
Right.
That's just my opinion. And a lot of times we put things on our pastors or our spiritual leaders that they're not necessarily equipped to handle. And
because they're not trained to handle that.
They're not trained to handle that. They're trained. They are, and I think I said this in a previous episode. They are there for our souls and making our souls healthy and getting our spirits ready for the afterlife. But there's some pastors that do have psychology backgrounds, and they have those degrees in psychology. Yeah. And they can help you, but some just, they can talk to you and pray with you, but sometimes...
Well, in the Bible, I read where Esau was dealing with the
and you
fables.
Can give me, you can quote all the scriptures you want to me, but if you ain't hey, sometimes you need some Xanax, some type of, some type of antidepressant. You need something, and your pastor can't prescribe any of that for you.
Right,
so
that's true.
You have to be very careful when you say, "Oh, I'm going to talk to my pastor, or I'm going to talk to one of my spiritual leaders." Yeah, sometimes it's good to go to them for advice, but as far as when you're talking about a mental issue, a mental health issue, I don't feel like the pastor is the person to go to. Like, yeah, you can go to him and ask him to pray for you, but you know what? His response should be like, "Yo, you know what? I really think you need to go. I
feel like you need to go to a professional,
right?" Yeah, and I think I'm very lucky to have like a spiritual leader in my life that realizes that if I go to him and I ask him for advice about certain issues, he'll send me to where I need to go. Mm-hmm. He's not going to give me advice just based off of his experience or his knowledge. Like, he's very knowledgeable, but there's some areas that he just doesn't know. Right. So it's like, okay, you know what? I can't help you with that, but I do know where you can go.
I know where you can go.
So it's always that direction that they should send you in. You should. I think you could seek direction from your pastor. Yeah, but not.
They're there to give you guidance, but not. Yeah, they're there to give you guidance.
Right? Because I mean, they always. That's the first, especially in our community. Just so we're clear, in our community, that's the first thing they always do. They send you to
the preacher,
your pastor.
You better go talk to Rem so about that. And he be like, Lord,
that's the first thing they do. But I pray a lot, and I pray for people that I'm connected to.
Well, the Lord gives us the spirit to know what we supposed to do, where we supposed to go. He gives you the intelligence, or he gives you the mind that you need to, that you can go else. You can go to the right people. If we use that, if we don't use it, then
he gives us common. The word that
he gives us common sense. That's it. Yeah,
that's where you're going.
Yeah,
that's a lot of people don't use their common sense.
Right.
And that's big. But then
we don't use our common sense.
We don't use our common sense. A lot of times we don't use common sense. We don't think before we act. We don't think things through. And a lot of times our actions and the results of our actions causes us to fall into depression.
Oh, my.
And that's
now
the
that
big
right
thing.
there.
Like it's the result of our actions that cause us to fall into these depressions. Like we may have done something to someone, and that person may have retaliated against us and totally hurt us in a way that we didn't see coming.
And now you depressed.
Well,
if you had not poked the bear, you wouldn't have got scratched.
Exactly. So you have to be very careful.
That's what I'd be saying.
And
don't poke the bear. You ain't a mug, bruh.
And there's some people that actually they've gone through a lot in their life that has caused them to live in a depressed state. Mm-hmm. And they have to be heavily medicated, and and they have these manic breakdowns.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of interesting to see how people react to different situations.
Right.
Everybody don't react to the same situation. Everybody don't react to the same situation the same way.
Right. Okay.
Because something might happen to me, and I'll be totally fine, but it might happen to somebody else, and it might totally break them. And it just depends on where you are.
What's your breaking point?
And everybody has a different breaking point.
Right.
And that's what I realized. Everybody has a different breaking point. Your breaking point may be totally different from mine. And mine may be way up here, and yours might be way down here. I might say something to you, and you go completely off. And somebody might say the same thing to me, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I'm good.
Yeah.
But, sometimes people just, they're on the brink of losing their life or losing themselves because of things that are going on in their life.
Right.
And we have to be cognizant of the fact that everybody that we meet they're going through something.
Yeah, that's true.
And you never know.
They might not be going through what you're going through, but they're going through something.
All right, and you never know what the person that you see, they may be smiling, but you don't know what the story behind that smile.
Right.
Or even if that smile is real. Because there have been plenty of days that I've smiled, I've laughed, I've joked, I've had a great time, and I came home and closed my bedroom door, cried myself to sleep, and woke up the next morning and did the same thing all over again.
Yeah.
So sometimes in life, I think therapy can help you understand and work through difficult relationships or situations in your life, from progressing into something worse than what it really is.
Yeah, I mean, because you definitely want to catch it. You want to be able to catch it before, it gets out of hand.
Right.
But until you get to a point where there's damage.
A lot of damage, death.
Irrefutable damage.
Right.
That's why I wanted to tackle mine, as soon as I could, because it was like, I don't want to continue to inflict any pain on my family or inflict any pain on myself or, be detrimental to any type of success that I could have.
Right. And sometimes people, piggybacking off what you just said, sometimes when you're in a depressed state, you start hurting other people and you don't even realize that you're hurting other people.
Right.
And that definitely you want to get that issue resolved before you get to that point because you damage and lose a lot of relationships.
Gosh, yes.
Just based off of that, people don't want to deal with you, and they don't know that you were sick. They don't know that you were dealing with depression.
Like, why you always negative?
Right.
Like, I don't want to be around no negative person.
I can't deal with that. Every time I come around, you're sad, and you're bringing me down.
Right.
Nobody don't want to be around that. So I think if you find that right therapist that can help you through,
if that one friend keep calling me draining my life,
that's the thing. Like, and
you can get the block button.
My friends know if they call me and they all upset. And my first question is, okay,
but did you die?
That's my second question. But did you die? My first question is, are you going to call me next week about the same thing, crying about the same thing? If you're going to call me next week about the same thing, get off my phone.
About the same?
Get off my phone.
Yeah.
I think some of the things. What are some of the things that we can do to help in the African American community to bring more awareness to depression?
I think things like this, forums like this, where
definitely
people feel like they get more comfortable with it. Oh, I know somebody. Oh, you going through this.